I got it. Voila. Who's joined us here too? Hey, Eric, how are you, man? You're on a different screen. I had to swipe to see you. Good to see you, man.
Good to see you too.
Awesome, guys. Okay, let me get started with what we covered off this week, and hopefully we can kind of integrate it. So I worked a lot this week with the wall. I used the wall in kind of a few different of my classes, and I'm gonna kind of, I think I've showed it before, but I'll kind of show you the underlying, I guess, theme. I had students like walking, and then I said to them, so this was kind of like the simple thing that kind of filtered into lots of things. So I asked students to walk and then start to jog in the exact same speed that they walked. So if I was, walking like this, I would just I would make the frame of walking, but then the speed is the same. So one looked like running, and one was running, and one was walking, and they looked like running and walking, but the speed was exactly the same. So you could run fast. So I'm not going to do it now. I know you guys don't need to do it, but something that I want you to try. Tomorrow when you're running, pick a speed, and then all I want you to do is just change it from a look of a jog to a walk, but the same speed, okay? So that sounds simple, but it's a little bit more challenging than you could think, okay? So you're basically working with, you're saying that the goal is to keep the speed the same, but I want to change the way it looks completely. So that's the interesting. So how it looks to somebody is different. Now, what that will teach you is to keep focused on what you're aiming at. So, and this was the other kind of metaphor that I used. You got to you can't hit what you're not aiming at. You can't. So, what is the focus of the drill or the class? And never lose sight of that, because if you can't focus on that and you can't aim it, you can't hit it. They all kind of work together. So we did that with walking. So remember, put that into your practice. Pick a speed. So it can be a fast walk and then a light jog, or it can be a light jog and then a fast walk, or it can be a very fast run and then a super fast walk. But the speed is the most important thing, that you're able to maintain the speed. Okay, that's your first mission. The same can be done with breathing. So you start to breathe, you pick a speed, and start to take more air, but the same speed. Try that if you want. Let's try it now, okay? So let's pick a slow speed. So maybe like 3 seconds in. So breathe in for 3 seconds. Breathe out for 3 seconds. One more time. Breathe in for 3 seconds. Breathe out for 3 seconds. So the 3 seconds is going to stay the same, but I want you to breathe more. So it's still only 3 seconds, but get more air in and more air out. So breathe in 1, 2, 3. Breathe out 1, 2, 3. So it's like I'm almost doubling the amount of air I take in, but the time is exactly the same. So focus is on keeping the time the same, more air in and out. Again, 3 seconds, but a lot more air. So I'm playing with these variables. I'm keeping the time the same, but I'm getting more air in or less air in. There's another one. So now we're going to breathe for 3 seconds, but I want you to take as little air as you can in 3 seconds, and I want you to bring out as little air as you can in 3 seconds. And you can see time is constant, everything else is changing. So, and that one that you pick as a constant is critical. Okay, it's critical that because it starts to challenge you in a way to keep discipline on what the aim is, what is the focus, and what's the aim. Okay, everybody follow me so far? I'm going to show you in different ways. Are you going to see it? This is important. Okay, Eric, you got it right. Okay, good. So now what I did with the wall was I would find a spot on the wall. So you can do it now there. Stay standing up, right? Like stay standing up if you can. look at something, I don't know, observe something, like let's say something on the wall behind the camera, I'm looking at it. And I'm going to start to do a squat. And my main focus is not the squat, but the main focus is on looking at that spot. It's not what I'm doing at all. It's completely looking at that spot as I do the squat. And you would do the same thing with a push-up. You would do the same thing with a leg raise. You forget about the exercise, but you're focusing on something else. Now, it can be something super interesting in the room. It could be, if you're outside, like Ramiro's, it could be something, a beautiful tree blowing over there, like a palm tree. But your focus is not on your squat or your push-up or your leg raise. It's on something else. And truly be absorbed with all that detail, okay? All that detail. Awesome, guys. Okay, good. You don't need to do too much. Now, you could do different things. Like if you had a training gun with you, you could do the same thing, or just a finger, right? You would point at something, like it could be beside you, maybe point at something. And again, you're looking at that thing you're pointing at while you're doing your exercise. It can be with the push-up, with the leg raise, but now instead of looking, you're also pointing, much like if it were a gun or something. There's something that you're really focused on, but you're doing the squat. And you're distinguishing between what you want to focus on and what the aim is, and then doing something else at the same time. It could be moving on the ground, it could be anything, is it can be faceted any way you like, right? Great, you got it, you got it, you got it. Great, great, great. This will all tie in. I don't want to jump into explaining everything. It will all tie in to martial arts, but you're building in a framework of being able to do something else while you're accomplishing something, right? So if I go to the wall now, I'll bring you guys to the wall. So you can try it now if you have something solid, right? Put yourself up against something, I don't know, like some sort of starting point. It can be anything. Miro, it can be a tree, could be whatever you want, something that is behind you, right? And when you're on this place, and this is the place you want, this is where things change for your breathing. So you come off the wall. That's your focus, is the wall. Okay. As I come off it, I'm breathing in and I walk around as much as I can. As soon as I have to breathe out, I have to come back to the wall, touch it, breathe out. I always come back to the wall and somehow touch it to change my breathing. So go as far as you like away from the wall, but you got to come back to it to switch the breathing. You can only breathe in. And if you want to breathe out, you got to come back and touch the wall. So a main part of this drill is touching the wall, not so much the breathing. The breathing, just let it happen. But just know that you want to switch over, you got to touch the wall. Really challenge yourself. Try to go far away and see how much breath you can breathe in or breathe out before you need to come back and touch it. Great. Eyes closed now. Hit the wall, touch the wall. Okay. Your eyes are open on the wall. Close them now. Okay. Close it and only open them when you come back to the wall. So when you're not touching, when you're on the wall, you can open your eyes. Close your eyes, walk away from the wall, go anywhere you like, and then come back to that exact spot to open your eyes. Go as far as you like, go wherever you like, but you have to touch the wall to open them again.
We're just breathing however now.
However you like now. Now it's eyes. Now the focus is eyesight. Okay, the wall is but now it's eyesight. Close your eyes. That's the main focus. Is just walk around with your eyes closed. If you want to open them, you got to touch the wall. Remember, be diligent, guys. What is the aim? What is the goal? What are you aiming at? Working with your eyes closed, switching when you touch the wall. So a good exercise to do, and go back on the wall again, guys. Go back on the wall, and just pick a straight path now. Try to pick as straight a path as you can, right? Close your eyes and count your steps. So go forward, let's say 5 steps. Go forward 5 steps. And then walk exactly backwards 5 steps and see if you end up exactly in the same spot. Try it again, yeah. And then do 10 steps and watch how different your forward steps are than your backwards. They're a little different. They're not the same. Spatial awareness, guys. Understanding your space without your eyesight, but understanding it through your steps, not through your eyes. Think of how a blind person knows the room. Can't see, so he knows it through the steps. Steps are very consistent so that they know where they are. If forward is okay, try backwards. If backwards okay, try sideways. Like try shuffling sideways and see if you go and come is the same, or were the steps different, were the measurements different. Like creating a really internal measurement system without your eyes. Awesome, guys. Good. So, practicing understanding distance is a real soft skill that will help you a lot. I worked when I was a younger man, part-time job at a grocery store, and we had a scale where we would measure anything from cheese or meat or anything that was being sold. We'd measure it by weight, right? And I got to a point where I could put something on my hand and I could tell, not by look, but just by feel, within 10 grams, guys. 10 grams is a quarter of an ounce. Like, it's really small. And I was so good at it. Customers that saw me do this, they were like, how do you know that? I had this sensitivity just from the weight on my hand, what was what. Eyesight um, tends to give us our depth gauges, like how far things are, right? But if you put it aside until you have to go through a forest at night, and then you're like, there is no depth, there is no, like, I can't see that far. So you have to know by steps. And believe me, there are so many animals that do this. They just know things by the step, how long, how many steps it takes. And a great exercise to do with somebody in your house, like I've tried it with my kids. I bring them downstairs, I ask them to close their eyes, and I try to see if I can talk them with how to come upstairs. Say, okay, 5 steps forward, turn right 2 steps. Okay, you got 10 stairs, walk up 10 stairs. And you direct them, literally guide them through, right? Guide them through just with your words, and they're listening and feeling how to come through, right? And this is an important skill because sometimes people can't see for whatever reason, right? Smoke in a room, like a smoke-filled room, and you got to be able to audibly give people what it is, right? And you should know this for your own homes too. Know how many steps are everywhere, know how many steps from the front to the back, from the side to the, like, you should know this clearly, okay? Now, I don't know about in the States, but in Canada, commercial property, so any buildings need to have a planned layout for all for the firefighters at the front of the building. So if there's, so that way they can access, and they want it in measurements. They want a measurement to everything. How big is the room in feet? How far is the hallway in feet? Like, they want to know it all. It has to be laid out. And the firefighters don't want to see, they want to know, like, by distance. They want to see it down on a piece of paper, because they're probably going to be going through that house not able to see. So they know how to count their steps. So when they go down a hallway and it's 10 steps, they know it's 10 steps. They get used to counting their steps, right? Make sense? And you can see it, like, it's a measurement. What it is you're going much further than just a basic skill set. You're starting to inquire layers of skill sets where you're picking up information that you might think is irrelevant, but it's actually very relevant, okay? So it's all around. I mean, how many of you know how many steps are in your club, like where you're training? Like, you should know how many windows, how many mats, how big is the space, how many people are there. These are all things that you can just do without asking anybody. How many people are wearing socks? How many not wearing socks? How many people wearing a black shirt? How many people wearing blue? Like, just look for information. Look for anything that can give you spatial awareness, situational awareness of where things, because this is all finding little bits, right? Make sense, guys? Super important, because tomorrow, what this skill set will do is you'll start to see it in your partner. Because if I look at the room like that, guess what else I do? I look at people like that, right? Why is that guy walking with a trench coat in the middle of the daytime, right? Why is somebody, you'll see ridiculous stuff. There's no doubt about it. But anyway, that's a whole other story. Now, how does this integrate into training? So I had students in class. I'm just going to move a little bit over here. And I made them look at a spot on the wall while people were attacking them. So their main focus was to look at the spot on the wall and deal with, in this case, let's say grabs, okay, a headlock or a body grab. And if they escaped, but they had to stay focused on what they were looking at the wall. And then from that, I had them come to the middle of the room leave their eyes open. And as people were attacking them, say with a grab of sorts, to escape, but not give it too much attention. So what this stems from, why this is, in most cases, people that are coming at you, you give them too much attention. And that's part of the problem, right? How many of you have faced that in your life? You have a big problem, but if you give it too much attention, right? Miro's, I'm sure, laughing because you see, he's free diving. If you think about some of the stuff you're doing, if you give it too much attention, what happens? Panic. Panic comes. So you have to teach yourself, even though somebody's coming at you quite hard, not to make it a big deal. Try not to make it a big deal. Imagine you just got a massive cut on your arm, and if you focus on the blood gushing out, I'm not saying don't have urgency to it, but you got to learn a way of not overreacting, because that kills people more than what happened. The panic that sets in kills more people than the thing that happened. And that's not my opinion, that's from fact, okay? So in a real scary situation, if you haven't built into your training a way of calming down, even at low level, just calm down. That doesn't mean ignore the problem. It means deal with it, but don't give it too much attention. Otherwise, you give it a life it never wanted, and nor do you want it to have, right? I don't connect with a problem too much. People grab me, I escape, I do what I gotta do, but I don't give it, I try to stay under its level of importance. I don't go above its level of importance, right? How many of you do that when you have a problem, make it bigger, just in case it tricked you, right? Yeah, we all do that, right? It makes us, it's human nature that when we have a problem, we want to make it bigger just in case we've misunderstood it. But in many cases, we're way over top. We've way overdone it, right? So, and then I had students wrestling, and when they were wrestling, they weren't allowed to focus on the person they were wrestling. They had to look at other groups wrestling. So you couldn't even look at yourself. You'd be wrestling with a guy and you have to look over there. Okay. Now, I know you've done this at a restaurant, all of you. You've had some food, but somebody ordered something you like better, and you're like, hey, what's that over there? And you're watching somebody eat something maybe you would have liked. Like all of a sudden your focus is not on what you're eating, but on what somebody else is eating, because that's really cool. Okay. Now, I did this in Sistema in the early years without anybody telling me. You know why? Because Vladimir couldn't speak English well, and he would train with everybody, not always with me. So I would be more interested in how he was doing than my partner that I had. So I'd be wrestling with my partner, I'd be looking, what's he doing? How's he doing it? Guys, I give up tracking how many times I watched somebody that I was watching do a cool move and I copy it right as they're doing it. Watch the guy throw a guy, I grab the guy, throw the guy. I'm like, wow, just by watching, I copied. Just by watching, I could copy the move that I would have never have done. So part of your training has to be, if there's more interesting people in the room that have something that maybe you really enjoy, then you should be able to lose what you're doing, or at least deal with it and look at what they're doing. Shouldn't you? Shouldn't that be what you do? I don't know. That's what I've done. It's helped. I've learned more from doing that than from an instructor. Just the truth, right? I'm very good at finding people that are doing some interesting stuff and observing them really well, because I've layered observation skills into my everyday life. I try to observe as much as I can, and then apply it when I'm doing martial arts, right? Does that make sense, guys? Ask me a question. I don't want to kind of, does that give you some idea?
Yeah, can I just jump in? Because something
Yeah.
happened in class last night that might be relevant for the rest of the class.
Okay.
So I had I was wrestling one guy, super tall guy, young guy, and we initially in the exercise were concentrating on each other and wrestling, and then Manuel told us to do what he's just mentioned to all of you guys. And I said to this, I didn't know Emmanuel was going to talk about this today. I didn't know anything about it, but I ended up being partners with somebody else later. His name's Graham. And he was all about weight and substance. And what I found is in wrestling, I told Graham this when he was my partner, that all of a sudden I felt like I had more weight and more substance to every move I was doing wrestling simply by watching Graham.
Yeah. Heavier guy, right? Heavier set. short and stocky. Really, really. No, seriously, it's true. That's a great observation. Yeah. Now, a way you can do it, because I know we don't have partners now, right, guys? But there's still content here, and I want you guys to walk away with it. So how would I train with it, right? What you can do sometimes in training, because I know they do this in different special forces, right? But they'll give you a task, but then they'll also flash letters and numbers on a wall, and you need to be able to recite them. So they tell there's going to be a letter or number flashed on the wall, and you have to remember them at the end. So there might be 10 numbers and 10 letters. You have to remember the order while you're dealing with an attack. Because they need you to keep your mind open, not closed. So that's trainable, because when we fight, our mind kind of goes off. We kind of go into this mode where we don't think, or we're time freezes, and we're just, putting all our energy into the fight. But that's not what professionals do. Professionals, as the shit hits the fan, their mind opens up. It gathers information. It tries to figure out a solution, or what is the real problem, right? Let me ask you a question, guys. If I'm sitting here and I'm walking on the street and somebody got close enough to jump me and grab me, the first thing I need to ask myself is, get out of this situation and analyze what else I have missed. Because for somebody to have walked up and grabbed me, I've missed the threat. I've missed spatial awareness. I've missed situational awareness. So they've really gotten by me. So there is this could be, maybe this situation that's happened is only the tip of the iceberg. Maybe it's worse than I ever thought. Maybe there's another 3 people waiting, or there's a gang, or there's a group that have organized something. So the very first thing you need to do is escape from the situation and quickly analyze and see what's happening. What's the ambush? Like, quickly try to grab pieces of information that could help me piece together exactly what's going on. Not fight right away. That's like low level. That might not be, or that might be part of the plan, right? Does that make sense? So how you can train it. There are times that I will, as I'm training, I will put something interesting, whether it's a book I'm reading on like an audio book or something, or a video of somebody very interesting talking about something very deep, like something meaningful, like life or something, right? Or how the Greeks did everything, something important like this. And I force myself to train whatever I'm doing, move, kick, knife work, punches, but I need to be able to listen to what they say, and I have to remember what they said. And if I can't remember, that means I'm trying to separate what I'm doing and what I'm focusing on. That's a real valuable skill at time. There's time when you can meet them both together. That's amazing. Those are ideal situations, but then there's less than ideal situations. Okay. Like, I love, going pistol shooting, and those are ideal. There is nobody shooting back at me. I'm just shooting, and I can be accurate and stable. I can have fun, boom, boom, boom. Until somebody's shooting back at me, it's not ideal now. Like, you see the difference, right? Now there's a different play here. We study martial arts. You got to be able to separate and develop a skill set of being able to focus and concentrate on something in the middle of something. Okay. I'll share with you one funny story. It's a true story. I had a really nice watch that was given to me as a present, and it was by like grandfather. So, and sure enough, I wore it as a young man, and luck be a lady. That night I got into a big fight, and the first punch I threw, was not with my right hand, with my left hand, bang. And I see the watch come off. I actually saw it. I couldn't believe it. It was like, my main focus was like, oh my God, forget about the guy, forget about the 3 other guys that were about to get into it with me. That watch became, because I didn't know what to tell my dad that I lost my grandfather's watch. I said that was the most important thing at that moment. And in the middle, of his flight, I caught it in the air and I put it in my pocket. That was more important than anything else that would have happened to me. I would have taken an incredible beating just to not have lost that watch in the middle of the fight. And I know you guys know that with kids, like when you're protecting your kids and stuff, you always know where they are and you understand the importance of those things, right? Make sense? Yeah, so you can train this. You can actually train this, all right? Erica, I got you. You're good? Yeah, you're just not all on screen. So I want to make sure you don't have a question and raise your hand. So please,
Yeah, I
if
got
you
a
don't,
question. I got a question.
okay,
So
ask the
like
question, ask it.
I struggle with my attentiveness or my attention. Like I'll lose the focus, I'll start spacing out, right? I'll listen or and even as you're talking about the focus thing, I'm like, oh yeah, this reminds me of this thing, and I play this story in my head, and I'm like, oh shit, let me like you caught me, let me come back in. Like, how do you treat yourself? Does that happen to you, and how do you treat yourself around that, like in your training?
Well, don't punish yourself for it, the first thing, but the number one thing, distractions are common. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of this metaphor when people meditate, right? There's often distractions are clouds, but the blue sky is always there, right? So these things that come to our head just distract us, right? Um, I don't like when, so allow that to happen. It's okay, but just that you catch yourself is the most important thing. That's all, right? And it's I put this on the Signal chat. I don't know if you saw it, but it said starve your distractions and feed your focus. That's what I wrote exactly. Starve your distractions, and not just in life, in training too. Many times we get so distracted with some training partners that we work with. They have a different idea of what they want to study. Sometimes it's interesting, sometimes it's not, and you need to really stay focused. And there are many times I've gone to class where I've literally have told somebody I was training with and said, training with me is really special, and I really want to come and listen to what my instructor has to say. And maybe I don't like what he has to say, but I still want to train with it because it's part of something that I'm sure he's put together. Does that make sense, guys? Does that make sense? So I don't know how you guys look at training or like what you think, but when you come to training and you're being taught, how do you look at it? I'm going to ask you guys a question. How do you look at it? Because that will tell a lot of how you accept it, right? And you don't need to answer me, but I'll tell you how I do it, and then you can kind of think about it. So whenever I come to training and a teacher is teaching me something, I look at it like I've come and they've prepared dinner for me. Imagine if you came to somebody's house and they said, I've prepared dinner for you. How would you feel about this? Probably the first thing would be gratitude. Thank you so much. Regardless of whether the food was good or bad, you're just grateful the person took the time to cook it for you, right? There's an immense gratitude. That's really the way that I approach training. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of things maybe I want to eat or things I want to do, but that's how I look at it. So when I see somebody that's not listening to the teacher, not rudely, and it's not like that. It's not like most people that don't have gratitude. It's not that they lack the ability of gratitude. It's that they never saw it as important. They know it is, but they just forgotten how important gratitude is, right? And just being grateful for, say, you know what, I can train today. This is not maybe necessarily what I like, but I want to be and giving an instructor the gratitude of actually listening to what they say is so important, I think. So that's the way I approach it. I just kindly tell my partners, I really want to work with what's being done here. I really want to work with this. And that skill set of awareness, spatial awareness, situational awareness supersedes all martial arts skills that you could ever have. If you just study that, you'll be safe for the rest of your life. Martial arts is already way too late. Like, to me, it's kind of late in the game, right? I study it because I love it, right? But I love it, right? The hand-to-hand, I love it on many different levels. But if you had to tell me as a fighting thing, you want to be very situationally aware of everything before it happens. You want to do it. You want to be like a bodyguard. You want nothing to happen, and you want to be aware of everything before it happens. You don't want to be surprised by anything. That's not what you want. I understand what Hollywood has done, but that's my opinion, right? So getting distracted, Eric, back to your question, because in one way, it's a blessing for you because it opens up creativity, right? It makes you creative. But you have to know when it's a good time and when it's not. That's all. And just play with it, right? Did I answer the question, or did it not? Good, yeah. Please don't like. You're so hard on yourself sometimes, guys. Like, I hope I never showed you this. Like, I don't like. I'm not hard on myself that I'm not like this and this and this person. Like, all of you are so special to me. You have such wonderful talents and skills. I guess when in training, when people kind of, let's say, attack you of some sort, right? Please don't like I guess the thing is, don't give it as much attention. So if you're not going to give it attention, what are you going to do? I guess is what I'm trying to answer for you, right? And what I would do is look in the room and who's doing something really interesting, or who's doing something that, man, I really like that skill set, right? You can watch it all the time. You see it happen, right? It's like, as I walk around the room helping people, I see other people watching. They do it naturally. They watch because they're interested in what I'm going to say or what I'm going to do, like much like you guys are doing now, right? But you can do it with anybody. You can do it with anybody, right? Um, so it's an important skill set. So you can layer that as you're training at home, or let's say I'm going to go for a bike ride later this week because the weather's becoming really nice. And do you think I'm thinking about cycling when I'm on my bike? I couldn't care. I see people watching little speedometers and how fast they're going. I'm doing everything but that. I'm looking at the trees and the people and the wind. I'm gauging distance. I wonder how far that is from there to there. I wonder if I can hold my breath from there to there. I wonder, and I start to count things that are around, observe what's changed in the city in Toronto. It's an exercise in observational awareness for me and situational awareness, right? That's so important. I mean, I'm not focusing on cycling. I could if I wanted to, but I choose to do other things. And I find that the more I can separate the things I do, the more layered I have. Make sense, guys, or no? Karen, I think you're unmuted.
Yeah, I am. I have a question.
Sure.
My question is observational versus situational awareness.
Yeah.
I would have assumed them to be much along the same lines. How are they different?
No, complete. Observation is you're observing everything. Situation is a situation that's happening.
Got it.
So yeah, like I can observe myself, and a situation is maybe outside myself, or it can also be different. I can observe myself in a situation, right? And that's also a great exercise for you guys, right? When you see a situation, ask yourself or try to observe, where should I be? As something, where should I be? Where is the best place for me to be right now? That's all, right? Usually, I don't know, a situational awareness would be, oh, I'm about to go into a movie theater and there's been some mass shootings in this movie theater. I should probably sit close to the door, not in the middle of the movie theater, which is the furthest point from the door, right? Like understanding what situations are good and bad, right? Recently, we had somebody who went to a kind of a big demonstration and brought their family, and then sure enough, that demonstration had rioted, and they were in the middle of the riot with their family, and I didn't know what to say to them. Why would you put your family in a situation where it's hard for them to escape when you have little kids? You need to be close to where you can get away or get out of a stampede mentality. Anytime there's a big mass of people, anything can scare that. An explosion, a loud noise, something can make them go in a situation. You need to be aware of that situation. Anytime you're in certain places, you need to be aware of, not scared, but understand, the nature of it, right? That's all. Right. So for situational awareness, I always tell people you should know where the exits and entrances are, both like doors and windows, like makeshift exits as well. You should know where your hospitals are in your area, especially level 1 trauma, in case for serious, because not all hospitals are the same, right? Like you should know these things in just basic situations, right? Especially if you travel. I'm sure Miro has done all this homework with the Canary Islands about what to do, right? Because stuff always happens when you're not ready. So observational awareness is just observing yourself, observing other people, observing how, haven't you ever seen it in class? Somebody comes into class, it just changes the environment, right? How about exercises? After you do exercises, see how maybe the class calms down a little bit, right? If you've ever seen that, and if you ever felt that, right? Like a room can change, right? And you want to observe everything from temperature. You ever seen the farmers? Farmers are amazing. They come out of their house, they're like, it's rain. And they're right. They're usually pretty right. They're pretty good at telling the pressure of the air and what will happen. It's amazing. I knew a friend of my father's who was a sheep herder. Interestingly enough, I never met a more accurate weather guy in my life. The guy had sheep herded and he came to Canada at 40. And at 80 years old, he could still tell the weather in Toronto at any given moment better than the Weather Network, hands down. Hands down, the guy knew. He could tell you if it was going to be a good summer, a cold winter. He knew it all. And he just learned by cycles. And it was incredible, incredible skill. So, why didn't they hire him to tell the weather? I don't know. I'd listen to this guy before the news for sure, right? But you can train yourself to do the same. Just be aware. Just be really aware of yourself and everything that's happening. Okay. Yeah.
When you're talking, kind of brought me to thought, not that I would be doing it, but like an approach. When we were talking about the teachers and the form of gratitude that you should show to the teachers when you're listening to them, that maybe like the attacker or intruder, or whatever we call it, also deserves a form of gratitude and
100%
respect that can bring the focus back to them. I'm not doing it myself. I'm learning that, but it's just I wanted the thoughts to be recorded so I can remember.
It's so
it next
important,
time.
guys. It's so important. And this comes down to a bigger picture, right? It's how do you take, so if you want to be a resilient person, right? So I want to be, if I come to class and I want to be resilient, right? I want to be able to handle problems, right? Not only handle them as the low level. I really want to be able to have a problem and find immense growth from it, like actually look for it, because I know that in the problem is where I grow, right? So how can I do that if I'm punishing my partner as soon as they try to attack me? It was not just deal with them, but punish them. Then how is that going to make me stronger? Is it just going to build my ego, right? Like, what is it, right? So having a partner that really wants to attack you and give you a level of toughness that you can't find just in your everyday life, well, then you need to be grateful for that. Like you said, you should be grateful for it, which I am. I'm pretty sure Michael has said before he goes, your best teacher is somebody that really wants to beat you up. Yeah, I would agree with this, right? There's no doubt. But at that moment, you might not like it too much. But you don't need to actually just have that mentality. You can also have the mentality of doing less and finding a problem that you have and being happy about it and working with it rather than avoiding it. What do most people do with their problems? They avoid them, right? How about going right into them, right? So, Eric, is that good? Or you look like you might have a question there. You're okay? Yeah, guys, remember, resiliency is one of the most important attributes to survival that is out there, and it's actually buildable, right? But just don't scare yourself into it. Just have a problem, deal with it as best you can. Do not give up, right? Encourage your partners to give you more trouble, to build more resiliency. But it's not just to endure it, it's to actually love it and to say, oh God, I can't wait for that problem. But we don't do that. That's hard, right? We don't like problems in our life. And you know why we don't like them? Why don't you like problems, guys? I've asked so many questions, and it's surprising me the answer. It's not because of problems. It's not that. What do you think? Why do you think most people don't like problems? Number one reason.
Fear of failure.
No. Yeah, that's a good answer. Of course, there's no doubt. But from my research, from what I found, and for myself too, honestly, when I have a problem, I hate it because I don't have time for it. Like I get the damn flat tire and I'm driving somewhere. I got to be somewhere. And I'm like, I'm mad, not at the problem, because I don't have time for it. Right? Does that make sense? Usually problems happen at the most unopportune moments in our life. It's when you're doing 3 different things and then the problem happens. Right? The most important thing when a problem happens is make time for it. Let it go. Make time for it. Accept it. That's where the stress comes from. As you have a problem, you're already trying to figure out how you're going to reorient your rest of your day to get done everything you wanted to do, as compared to just saying, I got to free up some stuff. Stuff just has to happen, right? So that is number one. So maybe rather than, so for us to handle or become more resilient and face problems with a more positive attitude, maybe we need to stop living such busy lives. Maybe we need to leave some room to breathe in there, right? And leave some room to do absolutely nothing but enjoy the process, right? And this gets to my other theme of class, right? If you guys want to learn something new, okay, if you really want to learn something new, you have to make room for it. Okay, think of your house. Okay, like the knowledge that you have in your head, are you just hoarding knowledge? Is that what you're doing? Like, is it, like when I want to have a new skill set, first thing I do is I try to get rid of thinking and make room for the new thinking. I'm not building on top, on top, on top, on top, on top. But if I want to learn a new skill set or I want to see things a different way, I say to myself, okay, what was the old skill set? What was the old way of thinking? Okay, time to remove this, time to put a new one in. I make room for my stuff, right? I don't want to be a hoarder of knowledge. I don't just want to have to index everything that I have and try find it. You guys ever know somebody in your house that's a hoarder? Ever been to their house? It looks like a mess. Imagine your brain, right? It's okay to know a lot, but you also need to be able to get rid of the things that don't serve you anymore. And how many times, guys, I found a hoarder who says with an old couch, says, you never know when you're going to need this. And I'm like, it's 10 years old. It's 20 years old. It's dirty. It's stained. When are you going to need this stupid thing? It's sitting here taking up space in your house. It looks a mess, right? But they're right. It could be of use. There's no doubt. But you have to draw the line somewhere. Otherwise, you'll be swimming. And this is the problem with they can't get rid of it. You've all acquired lots of knowledge. I have no doubt. But there's only an amount that you can really maintain. So if you want to add a new way of, so if this thing appeals to you, what I'm saying to you is the ability to focus on one other thing while doing something else as a survival thing, as necessary, right? Because panic happens quick and people, you need to be able to analyze the situation very quickly and make a good decision for yourself. Then you might have to clear some of your own old mentality away to make room for this new mindset. Make sense? Or it's maybe too much, as always. Try it, guys.
Women are good on that.
Yes, they are. Yeah, that they never forget. That's for sure. somebody said it a long time ago to me. He said, if somebody came and painted my room a color I didn't like, I would complain for a couple of weeks. But if I did that at my house, my wife would never forget it. It would be like, it would 20 years later, still remember that I hate that paint color. Anyway, that's Alberta, that's you showing your age. Please make room for your knowledge, guys. You're changing a lot, and I hope you kind of see at home. So every once in a while now in your training, keep focused, razor focus on yourself, but also have the skill set of not focusing on yourself and focusing outside yourself. And whatever serves you best, you do it at that moment, right? Like if I'm all by myself, and I want to practice, on just me, no problem. I have the ability to focus on just me. But if I see something else that's more interesting or more dangerous, I need to be able to give all my attention there, but still operate as a person. And I need to be able to do that under my control, under my complete command when it's necessary, right? And understand that, because under stressful situations, if you haven't practiced that, you won't remember it. It just won't remember. And special forces, special agents, bodyguards, they're trained for this, guys. They're trained to gather information, remember phone numbers, remember addresses under extreme duress. It's practice. You can actually practice it, okay? So try it. Find ways of practicing it, right? There's ways of doing it, right? I'll try to put some in the chat if you like, just to give you some kind of training ideas. But if you can just start with something as simple as an audiobook and listening to it while you train, and that doesn't mean take it easy. Try to train hard, but try to not lose focus of what you're hearing. And then vice versa with visual. Try watch something on a computer while you're training And no matter what you're doing, make sure you're always looking, right? Look and listen or something. But you're always doing something else. And watch how your workout, a lot of people do it because they hate their workout. That's not what I want you to do. I want you to do it because you're developing a skill set that under pressure will come in handy. You'll be able to right away gather information as to what's happened, right? You need to solve it quickly, okay? Sounds like a plan? So that was the theme of the class this week, guys. That was the theme, okay? The theme was being able to separate your attention and also focus, making sure that you're able to find your focus and find your aim. Like, what is it that you're doing? I had students look at a wall while they dealt with an attack. Their focus was on the wall. It can be anything you want. The wall is just something solid and concrete. But if you pick something, I remember one, we did it with music. I had to listen to the lyrics of a song while people were attacking me. I couldn't remember anything. That was horrible. I was a mess. But that challenged me to have good hearing in the middle of stuff and hear what people are saying or what they're doing, right? You'd be surprised, like, hey, there's a knife. That's a good one to remember in the middle of stuff. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, guys. A little bit of a random class, but the way I taught this week, there was a lot of stuff going on, so it was hard to kind of increase it, but try and ask me questions anytime. All right, guys. Miro, enjoy the free diving, man. Eric,
Thank
stay
you.
focused.
Thank you, guys. Enjoy there.
Great
Bye,
to see you
guys.
all.
A
Great
great
to see
weekend.
everybody, man. I'll see you next
Have a
week,
nice
guys.
weekend, everybody.
Thank
Be
you.
well, guys.
Thanks,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Stay safe.